Okay, let's get into this. Imagine, if you will, this town, Nokios Elv. And one day, just like that, the kids start talking. Well, gibberish.
Not just made up words, though, right? It's like the letters inside the words got all jumbled.
Exactly. Their own language, but scrambled. We're looking at a really interesting source for this today. It's a children's story, actually, called The Word Sickness of Nokios Elv.
Written by Jan Frederick Bisberg, Christian, Chiara, Victoria, and Sophie's Farfar, it says. And it's meant to be read aloud, which is a nice touch.
It is. But don't let the children's story part fool you.
Yeah.
Stick with us, because this tale, it actually has some pretty interesting things to say about how we connect, or maybe disconnect. So our mission today is to really unpack this word sickness. How did it start? How did it affect everyone in Nokios Elv? And, well, the cure is something else.
Yeah, the onset is quite specific. It starts small. We're in class 2 by Hesta Mill School. Bodil's the teacher.
Right. And it's little Freyja, isn't it? She tries to talk about her weekend.
Yeah, she went to the riding school, rode her horse Goliath. Simple stuff. But what comes out is, well, let me read it. Mo and my little brother, her mom and dad, went to their Roudong school on got to Rodo on Galuth. And if Haldeward, old Hallpod brought home.
Jumbled. You can picture the scene, right? The other kids probably giggled at first.
Sure, kids do, thinking it's funny. But then Bodil, the teacher, is confused, and Freyja herself. She's distressed. She can't make herself understood.
Yeah, that must have been frightening for her. Suddenly you can't communicate. It highlights how fundamental that is, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And Bodil's first reaction, sort of dismissing it as maybe just playing around, that's telling, too. We often try to fit odd things into familiar boxes.
True. But Freyja's reaction makes it clear this isn't a game.
Yeah.
Something's really wrong with how she's forming words.
And it doesn't stop with Freyja. This word, sickness, it starts to spread.
So the next day.
Next day, yeah. Art class. Nicholas tries to ask Victor for a pencil. Simple request. It comes out like this. Victor kan borrow o punkel from the class saplo box bukus ovo forgotten mono od homo.
Good grief. It's like the letters are just randomly swapped around, not even a clear pattern.
Exactly. It's erratic, which makes it even more confusing. It really makes you think about the complex neurological processes behind just forming a normal sentence and how fragile they might be.
And then things really escalate, right? The school nurse.
Oh, yeah. Suddenly, the nurse's office is just packed. Kids from different grades, all with this same letter sickness. They can't talk properly.
Imagine the principal seeing that cue. What do you even do?
Well, the principal makes a tough call, sends everyone home, and eventually, as it spreads to basically every kid in town, they have to close the school.
The whole school shut down. That's huge. It shows how something like disrupted language can just grind everything to a halt.
It really does. Think about it. School lessons, playing, just everyday interactions, all suddenly incredibly difficult. The whole community fabric is affected.
But the kids, they try to adapt, don't they? The story gives examples.
Yeah, they do. They still want to play. So you hear things like, will you come out and play? Or will you come out and play?
Or, shall we jump ropo? Shall we jump rope?
It's sort of endearing. Their resilience. They're still trying so hard to connect, even through this jumble.
That resilience is key, isn't it? That drive to communicate, even when the tools are broken.
Definitely. And it's not just play. Think about practical things, like the grocery store example.
Oh, right, the shopping lists. That must have been a nightmare.
Totally. Trying to ask for a bag of cuckoos and a loader of buttermilk.
A bag of cookies and a liter of buttermilk. Wow.
Or a bag of Rocco, Bonos, Coca-Cola, avocado, chicken, and cholo.
Rice, bananas, Coca-Cola, avocado, chicken, and jello. You'd need to be a code breaker.
Pretty much. It really hammers home how much we rely on shared, clear language for just like basic daily life, and how much context must have played a part eventually. Nonverbal cues, pointing.
Yeah, you'd have to find workarounds. Okay, so things seem pretty bleak, but then there's a shift, a trip.
Right. A turning point. Niklaus' family goes to a neighboring town, Vivd van Day. It's his cousin Emil's 10th birthday.
And the story makes a point of saying Vivd van Day is different.
Very different. The houses look different, they eat different food, lots of fish and beets, spelt buns. The fashion's different too, tracksuits for boys, long pants, and ponytails for girls. Even the parents have distinct styles.
Bearded dads, moms with amber necklaces. It's painting a picture of two separate little worlds, side by side.
Exactly. These aren't just background details. The story is setting up these distinct community identities, these different ecosystems almost, and that contrast becomes really important.
Okay, so they go for the birthday. Does Emil have the word sickness too?
He does. It's reached Vivd van Day. But interestingly, it sounds a bit different there. Emil greets them like, good morning and welcome.
Good morning and welcome.
Yep. And Nikolaj replies with his Nokios Elv version, good morning, hoppelbortu. He gives Emil his present, a mobile phone, saying, we have bought
you a gift that you will be happy with. And Emil's reaction.
Also jumbled. Umu baloo, boomoo, just what you wanted. A mobile phone, just what I wanted.
So the sickness is in both towns, but maybe slightly different dialects of jumbled?
Kind of. It suggests the cause isn't one single thing. Maybe it interacts with the local environment somehow, or maybe it's just, narrative flavor. But it's interesting.
Okay, so Emil gets the phone, and then
things get really interesting. Emil wants to call his friend Sebastian, who lives in another town, Osiabi.
The third town.
And again, it's described as distinct. Boys wear shorts all year, girls have curly hair and tall boots, lots of vegetable gardens, chickens running free. Another unique vibe.
3 towns, each with its own character. Nokios Elv, Vivd Vandet, Osiabi. The story's really emphasizing their separateness.
It is. It's layering these differences. So Emil asks Nikolaj, should we trip calling mufron sabustun? Hulivus on usuubu tusuufu kun kunguvur on plu.
Should we try calling my friend Sebastian, who lives in Osiabi, to see if he can come over and play?
Right. And Nikolaj asks, do u hovo hos number? Do you have his number?
So they call Sebastian.
They do. And Sebastian answers, also jumbled, hello, this is Sebastian. What's silling? Hello, this is Sebastian. Who's calling?
This is wild. All 3 towns affected.
Yep. Emil explains, who subistun utsumbo, which is good bufunu on umkolang u from ut. Hi, Sebastian, it's Emil. I just got a mobile phone and I'm calling you from it.
And Sebastian's response.
You me, which presumably means awesome or something similar.
Okay, so Sebastian comes over.
Yes, he comes over to Emil's garden and he brings his little sister along, and then the miracle happens.
What?
They're all there together. Emil from Vivd Vandet, Nikolaj from Nokios Elv, and Sebastian and his sister from Osiabi. And suddenly, boom, they can all speak normally again.
Just like that. No explanation.
Just like that. Clear speech returns, no jumbled words. It's presented as this moment of, well, almost magic, a sudden, complete recovery.
That's unexpected.
Yeah.
It makes you think the cure isn't like a medicine, but something about the interaction. The mix.
That's exactly what it points towards, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Something about that specific combination of kids from those 3 different places.
But wait, it gets weirder, right? When Nikolaj goes home.
Yes! That's the kicker. Nikolaj goes back to Nokios Elv, back to his own town, and bam, the word sickness returns. He starts speaking jumbled again.
Okay, so that's huge. It proves that the cure wasn't permanent in him. It was about the context. Being with the kids from the other towns.
Precisely. It rules out him having developed some kind of immunity. It's situational. The social mix seems to be the critical factor.
So Nikolaj's dad must be completely baffled now.
You bet. He calls the principal. The principal's probably exhausted by this whole thing, but this news, a temporary cure, that gets attention.
So they call a meeting?
Yeah, kind of an emergency council. The principal, the school nurse, the mayor's there, head of the teacher's council, Nikolaj's dad, and Nikolaj himself. Even the PE teacher.
Quite the gathering. And the detail about Nikolaj sitting on a trash can.
Yeah, they ran out of chairs. It adds that touch of slightly absurd reality to it all. A kid on a bin in the middle of this crisis meeting.
So what do they think caused the cure initially?
Well, the adults threw out some ideas. Was it the mobile phones? Did they need 4 phones together? Maybe it was the snacks they ate cocoa and spelt buns?
Typical adult thinking, maybe. Look for the simple material cause.
Kind of. But Nikolaj, sitting there on his trash can, he pipes up with some pretty sharp kid logic.
What does he say?
He points out they were all speaking normally before they had any snacks, so it couldn't have been the cocoa or buns.
Huh, good point. Cuts right through the speculation.
It does. And then he has his big insight. He says, Uts Bakuso Wulworo from different towns.
Because we were from different towns.
Exactly. That's the light bulb moment. Not just different, but from these 3 specific different towns. Nokios Elv, Vivd Vandet, and Osiabi.
And those town names, you mentioned they have meanings in Danish.
They do, and it adds a nice layer. Nokios Elv is like the town where we have enough in ourselves we manage just fine without others. Sort of self-contained, maybe isolated.
Okay. And Vivd Vandet.
We who live by the water, the town by the sea, suggests maybe more openness, connection to the outside through the sea.
And Osiabi.
Us living in the town by the river, maybe symbolizing flow, movement, life along the river.
So we're enough on our own, we're by the sea, and we're by the river. It's almost metaphorical, isn't it? That bringing these different symbolic elements together is the key.
It really feels that way, that overcoming the sickness required bridging these self-contained or distinct identities.
So they have this hypothesis. It takes kids from all three towns together. How do they test it?
Well, they need to recreate the situation. Nicolaj calls Emil in Vivd van det, and Sebastian in Osiabi asks them to come to the school.
And they still answer jumbled.
Oh, yeah. Their responses are still mixed up. And Sebastian says he has to bring his little sister Maja because we're home alone. Seems like a small detail.
But maybe important.
Turns out, yes. So Emil arrives first with his father. Still jumbled speech, presumably. Then Sebastian arrives with Maja.
And Maja.
Maja is already speaking perfectly normally. She must have been cured just by being with Sebastian, Osiabi, and near Emil, Vivd van det, and Nicolaj, Nokios Elv, again.
Wow. So the presence of all three, even if one is just a sibling tagging along, seems to trigger the cure instantly.
It seems so. And everyone in the room is just amazed. The school nurse has this great line. She says, "This is the first time in my entire life I've seen children from different towns become the medicine for each other."
That's powerful. Medicine for each other. It really captures the core idea, doesn't it? The cure wasn't a thing. It was the connection, the diversity itself.
Exactly. A beautiful way to put it. The differences weren't the problem. The lack of connection between them was, and bringing them together provided the solution.
So what happens then? They know the cure requires kids from all three towns to be together. How do they manage that long term?
Well, the communities take a pretty drastic but logical step. Families start moving.
Moving houses.
Yes. In all three towns, families start intentionally moving neighborhoods to create mixed communities. Nokios Elv families move to Vivd van det or Osiabi, and vice versa. They deliberately integrate.
That's a huge commitment. But it makes sense if they want to stop the word sickness for good.
It does, and the story describes this lovely blending that follows. You see kids adapting to each other's customs.
Like what?
Like kids in long boots learning to ride bikes, which was maybe more common elsewhere. Boys who always wore shorts, trying new foods from the other towns. A real cultural exchange happens.
So the integration wasn't just about preventing sickness, it actually enriched the communities.
That's definitely the implication. The towns become happier, livelier places, new friendships form across the old town lines.
And the word sickness itself?
Gone. Completely vanished. With the kids from different towns now living and playing together all the time, the condition for the cure is constantly met. Everyone can speak normally again.
That's a wonderful resolution. And the story ends by saying they never forgot it.
Right. Nobody ever forgot the great word sickness and how they had beaten it together. It became part of their shared history, a reminder of what they learned.
So when you boil it all down, this charming little story about jumbled words, what's the big takeaway for us?
I think it's fundamentally about the power, maybe even the necessity, of diversity and connection. It suggests that homogeneity, staying in our own bubbles, our own Nokios Elves, can lead to unforeseen problems, limitations, maybe even a kind of sickness.
Yeah, like blind spots or stagnation. And the cure isn't always some external fix, but rather reaching out, mixing, engaging with different perspectives and experiences. That interaction itself can be transformative.
Exactly. It makes you reflect, doesn't it? What are the word sicknesses in our own lives, our workplaces, our communities? Where have we become too isolated in our thinking or experience?
That's a really provocative thought. How might seeking out those different viewpoints, those people from different towns, be the unexpected solution to challenges we face?
And the source itself, the book, seems to encourage that kind of thinking. The foreword talks about sparking imagination, connection, shared reading, sort of analog antidotes to isolation.
Right, and there are activities in the book too. A quiz, drawing prompts, ways to engage more deeply.
Yeah, pushing you to think about the themes. And it even teases the next book in the series, when the old people in Nokios Elv became children again.
Oh, interesting. So exploring connection across different age groups next.
Seems like it. Continuing that theme of bridging divides.
It really leaves you thinking, maybe take a moment, consider the towns you live in physically, socially, online, who's there, who isn't. Maybe the cure for some unseen issue is just broadening the neighborhood.
Well put. Embracing that diversity might just be the key.